On this week's episode, we talk all about cartoons.
Cass and I have watched many cartoons together and we're excited to discuss them with you.
So, stick around.
Hello and welcome to Rare with Flair,
The podcast where two best friends with the same rare disease are living our best lives. I'm your host, Cassandra.
and I'm your host, Casey.
Case, I am so excited to talk about this.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's one of our favorite things. We've been wanting to do this episode for a while. But first, have you been?
Let's see. I've been okay. Been in and out of town a bunch since like mid-March, and I'm like excited. It's been fun. It's been fun to travel. I know you've been traveling a bunch too, though.
It's true.
It'll be nice when there's a little less traveling going on, just to have a little bit of downtime, but I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts. How have you been?
I've been good. I got back from the Eras Taylor Swift tour.
Oh man,
last
please
weekend.
update. Please.
It was phenomenal, and I feel kind of bad being like, it was the most amazing show ever, like, to people who haven't been, because I know, like, not, you know, some of our listeners or maybe couldn't go or something, but it really was, like, magical, and I'm so grateful. I did wait 5 hours to get that ticket, so I'm glad it was worth something.
I'm like
was,
low-key jealous because all of that Ticketmaster stuff went down, and I tried to get some. I know, like, I mentioned before, I'm not the biggest Taylor fan, but I've heard that her shows are, like, something to behold, and I'm a little bummed that I wasn't able to get it, but I am living vicariously through you. What was your favorite part?
Well, my favorite album is Folklore,
okay.
And everyone decided to sit down during that part, though, and it made my heart so sad because they need to give the respect.
I think
to that
that's
album
frankly
that it
rude. I know that it's like a
was
3-hour
atrocious.
show, but
Yes, a 3-hour show. Sorry, I don't know why. I just thought of Gilligan. Yeah, it's over 3 hours. It was 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
So,
that's amazing, though.
It was just insane.
Wow.
But yeah. Anything else with you?
Well, wait.
Oh, yes,
One
sorry.
more question about the Eras
of
tour.
Of course, we got to give Eras the moment it deserves.
It deserves the moment. When did you cry the most?
I cried. So I really mostly cried when she first came out. Like, when she first came out, it was playing like a little medley of some of her older
Was it like dark and stuff?
Songs. Yes, and it like made me just like think about how long she's been. It's so cheesy, but like how long her music has been a part of my life, because I was a fan
that is
from
special.
Like, the first album, and so it just got me. You know, we were all crying, like my whole group, and everybody. And it sounds so dumb, but like
No.
definitely when she sang Marjorie, the song about her grandmother, was emotional too.
Oh,
for sure.
so special.
I
mean,
really sweet.
I don't know. Some people aren't really music people, but I get really moved in some concerts too. So I know I totally get that. It doesn't sound silly to me, but
well, thank you.
I understand.
Yeah, it's not even like I'm a huge Taylor like fan girl. It was more like the music that made me emotional. So
yeah, I get that. But that's so cool. What are you doing coming up?
I'm about to go to the beach with my family pretty soon.
Ooh.
And I love the beach, as you know. It's one of my favorite places.
Oh, that'll be
so
fun.
I can't wait. Yes. What about you, Gur? Any other life updates before we get going into this fun ep?
Yeah. Nothing major. I will also be out of town around the same time that Case is out of town. I'm going to Spain. I'm really excited. It's going to be really fun. So we'll have to update the pod after that happens. But to get us started, we have to tell the listeners about our friendship.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
We're getting deep.
We are. This is...
Sit back, relax. We're going to tell you a tale.
Grab a cup of whatever you want to drink and enjoy.
Get cozy. This is a cozy vibe episode.
It really is.
Yes,
and
it really is.
Okay, so as many of you know, if you're new here, maybe you don't, Case and I live in different states, and you know, we always talk about how this pod is a really good way for us to stay connected, besides like making content for you guys, which we also love. But something that, I don't know who started this, but sometime a couple years ago, we were talking about Steven Universe, which we will talk about, a show that Casey introduced me to. And we were thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be so fun if we could like quote unquote watch it together? And so that's kind of what we ended up trying to do, is we would watch episodes of a show and then like send each other very detailed thoughts.
Yes. So yeah, we weren't actually watching these episodes at the exact same time, but every day we would have an episode like quota to meet, basically, yes, depending on how long the shows were. So if Steven Universe, for instance, has shorter episodes, so we would watch 2 a day. That would be our task, watch 2 a day.
Our assignment, if you will.
Yeah, our assignment to each other. And if it's a longer show, watch 1 a day, and then send your thoughts via voice memo. And this has become Case and Cass's Cartoon Adventures, and we have indeed watched 5 full series of cartoons together.
It's unreal.
And it's been a delight.
Yeah, and
it's been a delight.
We've only really taken one break because
yes,
as we were watching Steven, we had to switch platforms because the final season like wasn't available where we were watching it before. And so we took like a year break, I think, almost, or at least 9 months, and then we went right back to it, and then we kind of haven't stopped.
Yeah, we have not stopped. This has just become a normal part of our friendship. And trust me, we have an ongoing long list of more cartoons that we want to watch. And so we were going to like talk about the cartoons we have watched, the 5 that we've watched together. But before that, we were going to just talk about cartoons in general, because we both love cartoons.
We really do.
We are full-grown adults.
Yes.
But we love a cartoon, and you're one of my only friends that I share this passion
honestly
with.
Honored.
No, I don't know what I would do without you, because I feel like liking cartoons as an adult definitely is not the norm. It's a little different, and I kind of get annoyed
like
because
totally abnormal, but it's also not. I don't know. I know a lot of people who don't, and so do you.
They've become more mainstream lately, maybe. But I feel like people have said things like, "Oh, you have childhood trauma and you're trying to revert back to childhood by holding on to the," and it's like, no, that's not, it's not always that deep, bro. I've always loved I don't think we ever stopped liking, most people get to an age where they stop liking a cartoon.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got there.
I don't think so. I mean, there were definitely shows that we outgrew as we got older, which is just a natural part of life, but also, I don't know. I've always really loved cartoons because they feel a little nostalgic. It's really, I mean, even if it's like an adult cartoon, like something like Bob's Burgers, right, which we both love, right? It's not a kid's show. It's not a show that I like grew up watching or anything, but I love looking at it. I love enjoying the art, but also it feels cozy in a way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree. They like feel wholesome. And I really appreciate the art of it. Like, I really like, I'm not a visual artist. I'm not a great at drawing or whatever, but I think it's like a beautiful art form and people don't give it enough credit for that. A lot of these shows are really visually stunning. And speaking of vision, I know we've talked about this before, where cartoons are a little easier for us to see.
There's just like less going on. Like, obviously we like shows and movies with actual actors in them, of course, but something with cartoons, you don't have to worry as much about like really darkly lit scenes, which usually sets the tone in a movie, but it's honestly really hard for us to tell what's actually going on in these like really, I don't know, these scenes that have a lot of play, or like something that might be really action packed. Like, it's just hard to take all of that in visually. But with 2D, like the colors are brighter and things are generally a little bit simpler, but not simpler in a boring way. Shows that we're going to talk about have some really like beautiful and stunning visual complexity to them. Mm-hmm. I also really love the voice acting aspect of it. Like, I love seeing voice actors in different shows and just seeing how they fill the role of each character, and it's so impressive. It really is.
Yeah. And we both love music, and a lot of these shows have such lovely, fantastic music, whether it be kind of a musical show where the characters are singing or even just the background music of it all can be really, really awesome.
Yeah, no kidding. It's really a world unto itself. And I think that so we're not necessarily like anime people, but we're also not right. Anime people. It's just that like I've watched anime before, but like I've only ever watched anime really that someone has recommended to me. I don't really know how to know whether a show is good or whether it's going to be something that I am going to like, but I also have to watch it with like an audio dub because reading subtitles is very challenging.
Yeah, a lot of them are just have subtitles, and that's really hard for us visually. Anime, I don't have anything against it. There's just so much of it. And it's hard to even know where to start. And I've tried, but yeah, mostly we're watching cartoons made in America for whatever reason. But I was going to say something else about oh yeah, I also just think like you and I are kind of a little bit nerdy, like our interests.
Yeah, kind of.
And I feel like it kind of like something about people who like cartoons. It's a little like off the beaten path.
Right.
Like it's a little like, a little different. But
I feel like when given the choice, I would often pick something that's animated over something with actors. It really depends, but still, I really enjoy the worlds. But so wait, okay.
Yeah.
So even if you don't like cartoons, maybe this section might be for you, depending on your age. We're gonna quickly talk about like some cartoon nostalgia. So like what shows do you remember like really enjoying as a kid?
Yeah, let's talk about what shows we grew up on. And for the record, we're just talking about TV here. We love animated movies too. That's
that's like a whole other
can of worms. But so I have a lot. I think we both have a long list of shows and we'll name a lot of them here. And yeah, maybe you'll go down memory lane. For context, I was born in 1992. Cass was born in 1997. So like we did cross paths on some of these shows, but some of them we missed since our age gap was bigger back then, quote unquote. Right. I mean, it's the same age gap, but it felt bigger back then.
Right.
One of my very, very favorites as a young kid, like this is more preschool age, was Little Bear.
Oh.
And it's really funny because I look back at it now and I know I say this term all the time. It's so annoying, but I feel like it is very like cottagecore. Like, it's
but it totally is.
It is.
They're like in the woods.
These animals like frolicking in a forest and like knitting a sweater for grandpa and like, baking a cake. And like, it's like, and the music is very like calm. It was like my sick day show. I would sit with my dog Sugar, who was like my soul dog. Like and I would be with Sugar when I was sick a lot as a kid, so this was like a problem once a week. It was like every week I was watching Little Bear. But I loved Little Bear. I also, a little older, I was a fan of Rugrats. I've talked about that before. I had a Rugrats themed birthday party at one point. And a few others from like the younger age, Franklin and Oswald. Yeah. And I know you watched Oswald.
I did watch too. Oswald. It was such a chill show.
It was extreme. Cass and I, we've joked that those creators were kind of vibing.
They were vibing hard.
They were on something. It's just very like
so like slow paced. Not much happens in the show. But it's very calming. The music was like phenomenal. It's like this jazz, like
yes. You look back at it now, and it was very like. But hey, I
would love like that show on in the background, like to relax or something, because it's just so.
It's extremely calming.
Low key. I may fall asleep. Like.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what about you?
Okay.
What were your childhood shows?
Yes. Okay. So trying to think. I loved a lot of the shows that were on PBS, and so but also a lot of the Disney, I think it was Playhouse Disney at the time, cartoons. There was like a Madeline cartoon that I really loved, and we would like record it on VHS tape, and I would watch it like in reruns and stuff. There were a lot of really great shows from when I was a lot younger. I think it was animated. It wasn't like a cartoon. but like roly poly oly. I like forgot about that show, and I saw like on one of those like nostalgia pages they posted the theme song, and I was like, oh my gosh. Trying to think, there was like, I think PB&J Otter, Max and Ruby.
These were just slightly after my time, I think, but I like
yes.
I know of
oh my
them,
gosh.
You know?
I think one that we also watched, which didn't maybe age as well, was but I really loved, and I love the animation too, was Little Bill.
Oh yes, it didn't age as well because it was created by Bill Cosby, so that's the context there. Little Bill, genuinely, what a lovely show, though. Not to be confused with Little Bear, different, Little Bill.
Little Bill, and
it was genuinely a delight.
It was so lovely, like there, and a lot of it was like about like manners and culture and stuff, and I really enjoyed that. How could I forget Blue's Clues? Of course.
Okay, yes.
Of course. There's so many. Arthur. Oh my gosh.
One of the best shows ever made, Arthur.
It's so funny. So my brother was born in 1993, and the shows that you mentioned were all shows that he was like a huge fan of, like Little Bear, Arthur, Franklin.
Yeah, but you liked Arthur too, right?
I did, man, and I rewatched that.
Arthur was great
recently as an adult, because through the library you can sometimes stream things for free, and man, that show holds up so well, and like it's funny, it's witty. There's some really solid like lessons in it. It's a good show.
It is. It's very good. I can never pass an aardvark at the zoo without thinking of Arthur.
What about as like an older kid?
Okay, so those were more like preschool. As we got into like, age 9, 10-ish, I do have quite a few. I'll try to list them off quickly.
Okay.
I really, really loved Hey Arnold, and I still do. I actually rewatched it during the pandemic, and it's like, so the music is great. It's a really big ensemble cast, like really good lessons and morals. I also really liked As Told by Ginger and The Proud Family.
The Proud Family.
But I have two other ones I know you've seen that you love too, which were Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron.
Oh my gosh.
And they go together in my mind. Like,
well, they had crossover episodes, which is why they go together in my mind too.
They were both so funny, both of them.
Oh, totally.
And like, so those were the ones I liked when I was a little older. Those were a little more like elementary school.
Yes.
What about you?
I loved those too. I thinking of the PBS shows that I watch, I feel like after school I would like watch a lot of Dragon Tales and
Dragon Tales.
And then I really love the show Cyber Chase on PBS because it had some really like powerhouse voice actors on there too. It was hilarious. I had like Christopher Lloyd and Gilbert Gottfried. Like, how? But it was really like fun. I really liked the cast, and it was like mostly it was an educational show, so it was mostly about like math, and I'm like a nerd. I really liked math, and so I liked the way that they solved the problems, but also like the worlds that they were in were really kind of fun and interesting. So I really liked that show, but trying to think of any ones that you didn't say. Oh my gosh, of course, how could I forget the cornerstone of the millennials, the younger millennials.
Cornerstone of our lives.
But if you talk to any like younger millennial or older Gen Z, SpongeBob is like a formative part of our youth. And
I knew that's what you were going to say. Yes, I knew that's where you were going with this, is SpongeBob. And what's funny is I'm being serious. Like, whenever people ask me, like, what were your favorite shows growing up? I never think of SpongeBob because to me, it, like, transcends time and space. Like, it genuinely... does it.
It's a concept. It's a state of being.
No, but, like, it doesn't feel like just a show from my childhood. Like, it is the show of my life.
I saw, like, some Gen Z, like, roast that was, like...
Oh.
Millennials need to stop, like, talking in SpongeBob quotes. And I'm like, no. That's rude, first of all. Don't take this from us.
Offensive to me. That is So offensive to me. My goal is to make my nephews like it. My younger nephew said it was a baby show once.
Excuse me?
And my heart quite literally shattered into little bite-sized pieces.
I feel a lot of things, but mostly hurt, really.
Mostly disappointment and hurt. I would say.
Painful, man.
It really, I mean, we'll get to that because SpongeBob is one of the 5 shows that we have watched together.
Any others that we want to throw in? There's so many.
There are I mean, I know, The Wild Thornberrys was great, which I know you haven't seen.
I have not seen.
I loved it.
Oh, we both really liked Maggie and the Ferocious Beast.
Oh, what a gem. Maggie and every single time we say one of these shows, by the way, I'm singing the theme songs all in my head.
Yeah, right.
By the way.
Oh, I watched Clifford. Like, oh man.
Clifford, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
So I was thinking recently about like representation in all forms, because we've talked about disability representation in media, but like me, myself being Latina, growing up in like a Latino family, I realized that there were a couple cartoons or animated shows that were like important to me as far as representation goes. There was a PBS show called Maya and Miguel, and it was like they were like fraternal twins, and they were a lot of fun. They had this like big family. Their like grandma lived with them. I loved the grandma. And I really enjoyed like their whole family dynamic, and like Maya reminded me of my aunt because she was like very, hyperactive, like, but in like a really fun way. She was like a blast, but she was always like, trying to like create new inventive things, and Miguel was kind of like the voice of reason. It was really fun. And then later on, as I was an older kid on like Disney Junior, I think, it was like Bob the Builder but tools. It was called Handy Manny, and it was cute. I just liked that he was like, I don't know, he was brown like my family a little bit, you know? And he had tools. I don't even know if the show had any Spanish in it. I just like, it was pretty well established though, and I was like, that's my guy, is Manny.
And then were you a Dora the Explorer fan?
I definitely watched it, but my brother and I, growing up bilingual, this is really funny, we would like kind of ask ourselves like, why are they repeating the words? Because we understood it in English and in Spanish.
Yeah,
we're just like, they're saying the word again.
Down, obviously, because it was like for 4-year-olds,
right?
So it was like probably very frustrating for you.
But I did still watch it for sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was on a lot, so I feel like you couldn't miss it if
right.
you were like in our generation, you just couldn't. It was a very popular show.
Very.
Okay. But no, that's adorable. Representation, #rep matters.
Representation.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, because I was about to go off on a whole other tangent.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was
tangent.
Gonna say, before we get into the 5 shows we've watched together, I do want to like shout out some shows that we've both seen and loved as of recent that we haven't done for our buddy watch, but we still like consider like shows that we love together.
Yes.
Those shows are She-Ra, Hilda on Netflix. Highly recommend Hilda. Bob's Burgers. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
That one's on our list.
A lot of these are on our list to watch together eventually. Mm-hmm. Because we've watched them all separately. So we had to like give a little shout out to those shows that we also love.
And this is not over yet, but we're just letting you in a little bit into our cartoon adventure world.
Oh yeah, because the cartoon adventures, I feel like they could go until we die. Like, because
Pretty
it takes
much.
a long time. It takes like months just to watch one series. So
at the rate that we do it at, for sure. And like, as we've gotten busier, sometimes there are days where one or both of us is like traveling and makes it hard to watch the episodes or even like just send our little thoughts afterwards. And so it's taken a little bit even longer, but still worth doing. Like, I think before the last show that we had watched together, Casey was like, oh, do you think we need a break, or like should we just like go right into it? And I was like, I don't want to break. And she was like, I want to watch cartoons with you until we die.
Until we die. We've talked about like having our like own children and like still being like, we have to watch this cartoon, kids.
Everybody sit down.
Everyone sit down. We have to watch our one cartoon.
Gotta send the thoughts to Aunt Case.
And we will do it while we're traveling. Like, we like make it happen.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We are not skipping our cartoon thoughts.
No,
so,
this is very important.
my gosh, are you ready to get into it?
I'm so excited. Okay, do you want to kick us off?
We're so excited. So, our first show that we watched together, Buddy Watch, was Steven Universe,
of
as
course.
Cass said earlier. I watched Steven Universe back in 2017, summer of 2017, because of course I remember exactly what it was, because dates. I was living in New York. I was having loving every moment of it. Then I told Cass about it, and at the time we weren't as close as we are now. Like, we definitely were close, but we weren't talking like as frequently. And so like when I recommended it and she started watching it in a few years later, I didn't know if she would like it or not, because it's not really everybody's cup of tea. I feel like some people you would recommend it to and they'd be like, what on earth? But you like loved it, and it just made my heart so full.
It was it was such a unique and special little show, and so I really did enjoy it, and I felt like even then, before we had still gotten closer, it was fun because a lot of our relationship before was based around kind of a lot of what we'd do on the podcast, but more where like we would relate on the disability rare side of things. And so like our FaceTimes would mostly be about that. But now it was cool because then we were starting to like learn more about each other, and then realized that we actually had a fair bit in common in that sense too, which was really fun.
Yeah, so like quick synopsis. It's really a hard show to describe. I'll try to do my best. And Cass, you can like jump in after me with anything I miss. Basically, we follow this kid named Steven. He is a part of this magical group called the Crystal Gems. His mother, who is dead. See, it's deep. His mother, who is unfortunately dead, kind of died in childbirth, was the leader of this group. It is a group from outer space. So, like, his mother was from outer space.
They're, like, kind of aliens.
Yeah, they're kind of these alien gem beings. And that planet wanted to take over Earth, basically. But Steven's mother was like, no, Earth is worth protecting and humans are worth protecting. So she started this rebellion. She's basically a war criminal. It's like really intense. But anyway, now that she's gone, it's up to Steven and his few friends left on Earth to try to save the world, essentially. And anything else like that I mean, it's kind of hard to describe.
Right. Like Steven's like this, or like pretty much preteen. He's maybe like 12, 13 when the show starts. And so he's like, he starts out as this like really like, I don't know, vibrant, a little bit hyper young kid. And he is being raised by like the former, like, I don't know, they're part of like a rebellion group, and so like former other like intergalactic fugitives, if you will, that were like associated with his mom. And so, you know, being like gem alien people, like they don't really know that much about humans, and so they're trying to kind of be his like surrogate moms, but it's kind of like family dynamic in a way. And it's really cute. And then like his dad is around, and it's like, it's really neat because it touches on like family, like, you know, emotional health, interpersonal relationships. It's all like altogether a really wholesome show, and the music is pretty.
Yeah, the things I like about it, I think it's really, the characters genuinely love each other so much. Yeah. And it's like very like true, honest, like love. And I also think the music is great, as you know from my Spotify Wrapped many years in a row. It's been in the top. The animation is really pastel and beautiful color palettes. And it's really funny because it is, as the plot moves along, it kind of, the first season is a little more like relaxed, and then it gets really involved, and then there's these big reveals, like these big twists that happen, and they've been plotting it from the very beginning. Like, you can go back and see all the foreshadowing for all these things that they unveil, and it's incredible. But it really made it fun to do voice memos talking about it back and forth, because we would get really deep into the interpersonal relationships, and we would be like, I just don't know if she's ready to be a mother yet, you know, we'd be like really like getting deep into like the thoughts of all these characters, and it was really like it's a show that's easy to do that with, because there's so much interpersonal stuff going on, and so much lore, and so much like.
And there's a lot that's
mystery too
left up to the viewer to decide, because
you're right. You are right. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like some reveals of the backstory that Steven really wouldn't be able to know anyway, besides like what the gem ladies that he lives with now can tell him. But you know, his mom isn't there to give her side of the story, and so he's also kind of piecing together what her life was. And and that's really like part of the mystery of like, who is this woman, like, you know, how did she start this whole thing? And I don't know, it's really cool because you get to learn as he gets to learn, so there's not like too much advanced knowledge that is given to like you, the viewer, so you really do get surprised by the like big reveals.
And something I love about the message of this show, and one of the main messages I think of this show, is kind of like the hero of the story and the villain of the story. It's not always black and white of like who's the hero and who's the villain, and like everybody has layers, and like you might think somebody's the hero, and then you're like, whoa, they are not what I expected, and things like that. So I really love exploring that. So yeah, it's a great one.
It was really fun, and like. There's a movie after it that we also watched together. It's not very long. It's like an hour and 10 maybe. And so we just like watched half of the movie and then sent thoughts on then the other half. And it was still just, it was a blast. So especially like a show that like Case had introduced me to. And because like we also, like Case said, there was a lot of foreshadowing. So then getting to rewatch it with like the knowledge of how the story ends, you're like, oh, wow, you see things in a little bit different light. It's really neat.
Yeah, it was. It was a lovely time.
It was special. So like after that though, we decided, I don't know if we took too long of a break there, but we did decide to finally, it was time to watch.
It was time.
SpongeBob. It was
SpongeBob.
It was kind of an abrupt shift
Pants.
from a Square Pants. It was kind of an abrupt shift though from to Steven Universe, which is like kind of a little bit deeper, and SpongeBob I don't think is that deep, but like
no, and it's not supposed to be, but it was funny going from our memos of like, well, what do you think about this war crime and the rebellion, and then going to SpongeBob being like, well, you know, it was funny to like try to send thoughts about the SpongeBobs. Usually we would kind of just say like what we think our funniest moments were, because it is one of the funniest things ever created. Do not argue with me. I could go on and on about this. Like, yes, we do have nostalgic love for it because we grew up with it. But genuinely, I don't even think it's nostalgia. I think it genuinely is absolutely brilliant, and it is totally worth all the hype. And it is such good comedy. Like, I can't even express.
Well, okay, and so the tea though is that SpongeBob is like a really long show. If you don't know anything about it, you would see like, oh, there are like, I don't know, probably 20 something seasons. But
yes,
I think many of the people in our generation tend to agree that the quote unquote the golden age of this show was the first 3 seasons, and that's what we watched. And it was so good. Like I've seen and re-seen these episodes so many times throughout my life, but to get to share them was really special and really fun. And I don't know, brought up a lot of memories of like watching it like as a kid and watching it with other people, which is really cool.
Yes, every episode was like reminding us of times in our life that we watched it, and so many childhood memories. And I mean, we've both seen them all probably like 50 times each.
Easily.
Literally, like we can quote all of it. And so I was really excited to like watch it again all of it again in my adult years, because I hadn't done that. But literally one of the most like amazing shows ever crafted by human hands. It really like, it's really cool because the characters, the characters on it are fully realized from the first episode. Like, you know, a lot of shows take a while to get started. SpongeBob knew what it was and who it was. Like, from day one, it came out swinging. And we don't really, I mean, it's been on for like, 24 years. It's been on the air and it hasn't stopped. So, like, we don't know if, like, it ever did get better. But I think a lot of people, like you said, agree the first 3 seasons are the best. Yeah. Do you have some favorite episodes?
Oh my gosh. So I always like tease Case because she knows like the episode titles for like Steven Universe and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 2 of her very favorite shows. But like, I know all of the episode titles for SpongeBob.
I actually don't really know them for Steven as well.
Okay.
But I do for Buffy, I know all of them. And for the next show we're going to talk about, I do know them a little better for some reason. I don't know why, but SpongeBob, you and I were talking about this lately, so now some of the episodes are in my brain, but I am so bad with the titles of these episodes for some reason, because there's a lot of them, I guess. I don't know.
So like if you ever forget one, don't worry, I'll probably know it. And this is like information I'd never have divulged elsewhere, because I feel like people will think that I'm strange for knowing all of the episodes. I didn't commit them to memory, but here we are.
Yes. So what are some
let's see.
Your
Pizza
highlights?
Delivery is such a classic. It's like a fan favorite. For sure.
Of course.
Man, I love Chocolate with Nuts is probably one of my faves.
Chocolate with Nuts might be the best episode in the series.
So
I love
good.
the bomb one a lot. What is that one?
Which one?
The bomb.
Oh, Dying for Pie.
Dying for Pie is brilliant. Band Geeks is one of my favorites.
If you want to watch like potentially the most remarkable performance ever to hit television, you should watch Band Geeks.
No exaggeration at all. The one you like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
Just one bite. Let's see.
Yeah, of course you know the night shift one.
Graveyard Shift.
Graveyard Shift.
I feel like this is like a quiz. Let's see. Rock Bottom.
The one with the thing. Oh yeah.
Rock Bottom is really funny.
Rock Bottom is great. That is great.
I love let's see, Survival of the Idiots, where like they're like Sandy's in hibernation and they're in the tree dome.
Oh, yes. But I think Chocolate with Nuts might take the cake.
I think it might be my favorite. Oh, the camping episode.
Oh, of course.
Love.
Oh man, it's just
so many.
The Christmas Who.
Oh yes,
it's so
you know
good.
What? I feel like I hardly ever saw it, maybe like once or twice as a kid. Oh, Shanghai. Shut up. Shanghai is probably another favorite.
Forget about it. What a great one.
Man, we could literally list like every other episode. Like
we could, but we should probably move on.
I think so. I think the listeners.
SpongeBob is great. If you didn't know, now you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know.
Okay. The next show, I was going to say episode. The next show we watched together was another Nick cartoon. And neither of us watched it while it aired. We only ever watched it in adulthood, which is kind of wild. But it was Avatar: The Last Airbender. And man, was that so fun to watch together.
It was a treat. Yeah, this show started, I believe, in 2004. It was definitely the early 2000s. And I am blown away at how good it is for being that old. Yeah. Because shows like Steven Universe and the next few shows we're going to mention are newer cartoons, newish cartoons. But Atla, or Avatar: The Last Airbender, is old. And Cass and I didn't watch it until 2018 and 2020, respectively. Yeah. But, well, I was 2018, you were 2020. But it blows me away for how old it is. So anyway,
so Avatar, like quick synopsis, right? This is like a kind of a magical world in a sense where there are different elemental powers that exist within different regions of this world. So there's water, earth, air, and fire. And so there's only one person in this world who can control all 4 of the elements. Not everyone has like elemental powers, but some people do. They call them benders, right? But the Avatar is supposed to be like this kind of unifying force between all of the different like kingdoms that exist that have these different elemental powers. And at the time that this story starts, like the Fire Nation is trying to conquer the entire rest of the world. Like they're burning down places and taking them over in their name. And the only person that can put a stop to this is the Avatar, this kind of unifying force. But the Avatar has been missing for like 100 years. And then in the first episode, you see that like the Avatar is actually this like 12-year-old kid who was accidentally like preserved in ice / frozen in an iceberg, and then gets basically thawed out and is like, oh my gosh, 100 years have passed and we need to like fix the world. And it's really cool because like it's this group of kids who have like such a really great relationship together, all of them, and they all bring something unique to the table, and they're all traveling throughout this world, and you get to see different kingdoms, and it's really well done. I feel like when I first heard about this show, people had this like cult following, and people are like, it's like the best show ever made, and I was like, I find that hard to believe, but it is.
I was one
really
of those
brilliant
people because I mean I know everyone's opinion is different, but I am kind of in the camp of like it is one of the very best shows ever made. Like I really do feel that because it's just the animation stunning, amazing,
really
perfect. The writing is so well paced and so good. And it's SpongeBob, you can watch it out of order. Each episode is its own, singular story kind of. Whereas Avatar: The Last Airbender, it really does follow this through line story that you have to, watch in order because, and it's a traveling show. Like every episode they're visiting a new village and it's cool because they'll meet like a random character at one of these villages and you won't see them again for like 2 seasons, and then all of a sudden they pop up again later and you're like, oh my gosh, that person actually like had something to do, with this mission. And also we've talked about this. There is blind girl representation because
so
one
cool.
of the greatest characters, Toph, is blind.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like what's really cool about Toph as a character is that like we've talked about this before, but it's probably been like a hot minute. What's really cool is that like she comes in at the midway point of the 2nd season, which is coincidentally like the midway point of the whole show. And her, like, she ends up joining the group. She's not just like a one-off character, and she ends up having like a really profound impact on the end. Like they really kind of couldn't do things without her, and she's really cool because she is in fact very powerful. She has like a chip on her shoulder for sure because she has like something to prove, and it's really great to see that kind of a representation that she's not just like some side character. She's actually a huge part of the story while not even being the main, but still like a main character. And she's like she's feisty and funny, and it's good.
And the group just has so much love. It's such a cool friendship dynamic. The show has a lot of cool like redemption arcs and a lot of like it talks a lot about forgiveness and things like that. I think it has good like messages.
I think so.
That anybody can enjoy it, whether your gender, your age. Like I think it's like just a universally likable show. Like I think like a lot of you can watch it with just about anybody, and I think they would all find something in it that they relate to or they like.
And it's just wild because the writing is so good where like it's got its like comedic moments and they are very funny. Like they make you laugh. Yeah. But it does handle serious topics pretty well and seamlessly where it fits right into the story. It doesn't feel like here's a lesson for the kids.
Right, and there is a spin-off called Legend of Korra, which we also watched not together. And it Legend of Korra, I think when it's good, it's really good, but then it does have like its weaker moments.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is pretty consistently great the whole time.
I mean, every show has like its kind of filler episodes, and obviously this is no exception. That's the right word. No exception. but by and large, most of the episodes are really good and advance the plot, which is also really impressive that they took that risk so early on, because it really is much better suited for a streaming platform where you can actually see that through line. But to take a risk and potentially miss before that was a really widely consumed form of content delivery is actually really cool of Nick to do.
Yeah, it's true. Our next show that we watched together was a show neither of us had seen before, and this was the first time we had watched a show that neither of us had seen before. And that show was The Owl House, brought to you by Disney+.
Yes.
And it's really cute. It follows this girl named Luz, and she is Latina, so representation there, which we love. She kind of is an outcast in school. She's kind of having a hard time, and she finds herself in this fantasy world called Boiling Isles? Yes.
Yeah.
The Boiling Isles, and she meets this woman who's kind of like a magical witch named Ida who lives in the Owl House, and she takes Luz under her wing, and Luz starts learning magic and going to school, and it's kind of hard because she feels like she fits in this world, whereas on Earth she was an outcast, but she also misses her mom, who is still on Earth, so she kind of has choices to make of, you know, if she's gonna stay here, and yeah, it's a fun little ride. It's still airing, so technically it's not over yet.
Actually, I don't know.
Oh no, is it canceled?
No, I don't know if you saw the last episode in season 3, but it was definitely the finale.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
I have not seen. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we'll have to. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it seemed like it was leading up to a finale because the episodes just kept getting longer and longer. It was almost like a mini series. They were like an hour long.
It was a really interesting way to do a finale, honestly.
Yeah, but no, it was a cute show, and overall, like I think maybe it was our least favorite of the 5 that we've watched, but it doesn't mean that we didn't have like a fun time with it. I think it was still a fun one.
It was cool because being a show that neither of us had seen, we got to speculate together instead of you know always knowing what was coming. So we were like, oh, I wonder how, like, you know, we didn't really know much about the show. We kind of heard through the grapevine like, oh, this is kind of a good show, and so we didn't really know what we were in for, and, you know, trying to be like, oh, I wonder, okay, so this is how the show is going to be, all right. And I think, I think for us, it did take a while for us to really get into it. I think it wasn't ever bad. Like, there were never parts where either of us thought like, oh, I don't really care much for this show. It was good, but it didn't immediately grab us.
Yeah. No, you're right. And it got way more intense, and it was fun to speculate, like Cass at one point.
Oh my gosh, I was getting so into it, though.
Tell them what you did. There was like
a
handwriting on
scene with handwriting. It was like a cliffhanger ending of an episode, and I paused it, and I sent her a picture. I was like, look at the handwriting in this scene and in that scene. It's not the same. Like,
this handwriting doesn't match this one, but it matches this. And so it is fun when you haven't seen a show together to speculate about what's going to happen with it. So no, it was a well done show. I think all the others on our list are like very favorite, so it's hard to compete with perfection. Like all these other ones are like almost perfect, so it's hard to like. It almost makes it sound like The Owl House wasn't good when in fact it was a perfectly fine show.
It was a good show. It was a solid watch.
But it wasn't just quite on the level of perfection in our eyes. This is of course all of our subjective opinion. This is very subjective. Or maybe it is objective and we're just correct. We're right all the time.
I mean, this is our show. We can be correct.
Yeah, we are right and you are wrong. No, I'm kidding. Am I?
Yeah. So, so the last show that we've seen together, and by far not the last forever, but the most recent, was also on Disney Plus, and we had a rule that we weren't gonna watch like children's shows per se. Now, we have already violated that rule, and we plan to do so a little bit again, but with good reason.
And when we say children, we mean, like, preschool.
Yes.
Right, because, like, Steven and Atla and SpongeBob are still, like, children's shows, but we had kind of vowed to not watch, like, preschool shows.
But, you guys, we watched Bluey, and let me tell you, it was absolutely wonderful.
Such a light in my life.
So we both like learned about Bluey from TikTok. It ended up on both of our For You pages, and I had heard of this show, that it was like something that parents would put on for their young kids. But after watching a few clips that had come up on TikTok, I was like, that was actually very lovely and likable, and so we kind of, I was like, have you seen this before? And of course she also had on her For You page, and so
of course
we were like, should we do this? Should we watch this together? And I also had a friend who came to visit me in December, and she was like, have you ever seen Bluey? And I was like, I've seen it on TikTok, but not really. Why? She was like, man, I love it. Like, when people come over, like, and she's my age with other adult friends, right? When people come over, I, like, put it on in the background, and everybody loves it. It's, like, so, like, wholesome and wonderful. You should watch it. And I was like, oh, okay. Glowing review.
Yeah, it has quite the following on TikTok, from adults, you know, and, like, one of my closest friends who is not even a cartoon watcher, which is really a tragedy in itself.
That's probably her biggest flaw.
Most definitely, but she's even watching Bluey. I mean, like, literally everyone and their mother is watching Bluey right now.
My actual mother is watching Bluey right now.
Yeah, your actual mother watches Bluey. It's like, it's definitely has taken on it's very popular. It's and for good reason. So, like, there's not much of a synopsis, but, like, the general vibe of this show is, there are two young kids. Everyone in the show is, like, a different kind of dog, but, you know, they talk. They're kind of anthropomorphic. And, there's Bluey, and she's 6, and Bingo, and she's 4. So they live together with their mom and dad, and it's a lot of the show revolves around, like, play and imagination, and Bluey and Bingo are very, like, imaginative girlies, and they love to create their own fun and their games, and they play with other kids. But I think really where this show shines is you get a lot of their parents, and their parents are, like, amazing parents. Yeah.
And it's unreal. Like, they really love to play with their kids, and they're very invested in the games that they're playing, these make-believe games with their kids, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts about Bluey is, like, you'll have this really simple concept. It'll be an episode about nothing, essentially. It's about, like, riding a bike or so, you know, something very basic. And you're like, okay, you're watching it. And these episodes are, like, 8 minutes long, right? They're short. So you're watching it, and you're like, okay, this is about riding a bike or whatever. And then every single time almost in the last minute of the episode, they, like, pull one over on you, and they all of a sudden, like, twist it around to make it this really, like, poignant, meaningful message. And, like, it's funny because it, like, sometimes is so unexpected, and it really teaches you so many good lessons, which is so, like, cheesy to say since it's, like, literally a toddler show. But, like, if I were ever a parent, like, it is, like, a rule book for parents on, like, how to be a great parent. And I think we can all learn something from it. It's really, like, lovely, lovely messages. The music, they don't sing on it, but the background music is, like, so incredible.
So beautiful.
And it's just, like, really lovely.
I've seen, like, some, like, adult satire about it in, like, the best light, like, where it was, like, couple puts parenting decisions on hold until the episode of Bluey about it comes out, so then they will make decisions.
Yes. No, but seriously, I'm serious. I would not, the books, like What to Expect When You're Expecting, like all these books and stuff, forget it. Throw them in the trash. I'm watching Bluey to learn, like,
I saw
how to
someone,
be a parent.
comment that they were like, if my wife and I died in a horrible accident, I would want my children raised by Bandit and Chili, the parents on the show.
They're such good parents. It is literally like a warm hug of a show, and it's so and I think it goes to show that really good entertainment can be enjoyed by all ages. And if you're making something that's pandering to kids and it's not, give kids some kids are intelligent, and give them credit where credit is due. And if you make a show that is really can be enjoyed by everyone, then that's a good show right there.
And it's funny. And there were episodes that were making me laugh out loud, and
but it also makes us cry.
Oh man, I've teared up so many times watching Bluey. Yeah. It's insane.
It gets you tugs at your heartstrings for sure. It's really a great one. I think we've watched 5 really, really good shows, and Bluey is still going too. Actually, it's not over yet either. But yeah, it just explores some really good topics and really good. And I think for me, I think the overall message of Bluey is let kids be kids. Don't stress too much about them getting dirty or whatever. They're only kids once, to just try to. And it's easier said than done, obviously, to not be stressed as a parent. But it's just it really, that's kind of live in the moment, I guess, is the message of the show to me.
Yeah, I think so. And it's so fun because we're taking a little bit of a break right now because both of us are going out of town soon.
Yeah.
But we have many plans for the future.
Oh, yes. We are not stopping.
No.
We are riding this train for a while. We're continuing, and it's been so fun. I'm just so glad that even though we're adults and we're watching cartoons, and that's a little weird, I'm glad that we
weird,
have
honestly,
this.
Girl, it's really not.
I don't think it's weird, but I feel like some people don't get that at all. I don't know, but
I don't get them.
I don't get them, but no, I feel so glad that you that you're on this, that you enjoy it too, and that we can bond over that.
And yeah, it's just another really fun way for us to, I don't know, keep our friendship alive from a distance.
It is.
To be able to do, basically we're doing an activity together, because that's the one thing you really miss out on when you have a long distance friend, where you might talk all the time, but you don't have that doing life together. And I feel the closest thing you can come to is trying to do an activity, and this is kind of it. And it's really been fun, and we send these really long, at 5 minutes long or more.
Yes.
Just talking about episodes of cartoons, which is so. And also Casey does actual research, and so she knows a lot about the creator of the show actually wanted it to be like this, and they.
That's me.
But,
yes,
but no, it's
I'm
awesome.
The keeper of random facts. Yes,
I really like it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm the little Google or Wikipedia page.
It's so fun. I feel I get to learn so much from you too.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, we both contribute to the watching experience for each other, and then I feel we'll always have our memories of each other associated with these episodes now too. I feel now every time I watch one of these episodes, I'll remember what you said about it.
Yeah,
which is cool too.
Same. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and
so fun.
Love watching TV shows.
Love it. Can't wait to get. We'll have to do a part 2 episode one day. The next 5.
Right.
We'll do our next 5, and then we'll do a part 2 years from now when we've watched 5 more. Can't wait.
Whenever
we'll keep you updated on what show we're on. I feel we've been doing that anyway, kind of keeping everybody updated on what show that we're currently watching.
It's often at the end of the episode, so if this is news to you, I don't know, maybe finish listening to an episode. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It sounds really judgmental. I don't mean it to be.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for listening.
We will see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.